Folks, welcome back to our show. I'm Dr. Rednick and this is Nurse Endicott. And this afternoon we're doing a checkup on the techniques used in modern advertisements.
Hey Doc, thanks for having me on the show today. I look forward to discussing the effects of advertising in today's society with you. I've brought with me 4 Super Bowl commercials that we will be viewing and analyzing today.
So businesses employ different techniques and mediums to convey messages by means of humor, sexuality, or other means. Advertisers typically try to leave a lasting impression on viewers to try to shape their opinions and attitudes with regards to certain products.
Thank you, Dr. Rudnick. We will be analyzing the effectiveness of 4 commercials, and it's important to note that these ads were all aired during the Super Bowl, and therefore it can be assumed that younger adults were the target audience. Therefore, methods such as humor and sexuality were a proper technique to gain attention. Let's cut to our first commercial.
Say this other than to just say it. You're amazing. The best I've ever had. But things just aren't working out. Well, that's not completely true. I am working out. It's not someone else. It's something else. Bye-bye, trainer. Hello, shape-ups. Nice shoes.
So obviously this commercial was very sexual, and actually reminds me of an article by Jill, which we read in Dr. Strangelove's Advertising Society course. The article is called Empowerment and Sexism, Figuring Female Sexual Agency in Contemporary Advertising. The article emphasized the construction of women in new media and the modern idea that females are more than just objects of the male gaze, in that they occupy independence and sexual domination. Jill described 3 females. One was the young, heterosexually desiring midriff. The second was the vengeful woman set on punishing her partner or ex-partner for his transgressions. And, of course, the hot lesbian, who was always entwined with her beautiful other or double. So in this Super Bowl commercial, Kim Kardashian plays the role of the young and heterosexually desiring midriff, and uses sex as an advertising technique.
So folks, in the next segment we're going to look at another advertisement that uses humor to try to sell a product.
Nah, I'm good.
Okay, so this clip is similar to the Kim Kardashian advertisement. The commercial obviously uses sexuality to attract an audience, to attract their attention. You see it a lot when Eve is biting into the apple. She does it very sensually and in sort of a fantasy, mystical kind of way. But the main medium and selling point they use is actually humor. It effectively promotes the product, Doritos, while also insinuating that Doritos are as tempting and irresistible as fruit from the forbidden tree. But it really leaves that lasting impression with the humor. It wants to be talked about. It wants you to go out and tell your friends that you saw this ad that's really funny and look it up even online or whatever. Humor is a technique that's frequently employed by advertisement firms to target a younger adult audience, and seeing that it's broadcasted during the Super Bowl, it's quite effective in doing so. It's a good strategy by Doritos that uses both humor and sexuality to attract the attention of its audience.
Thank you, Dr. Rudnick, for that in-depth analysis. The next commercial we will watch will use a new technique, that of gender roles and stereotypes, specifically the expected behavior of a heterosexual male in comparison to a homosexual one. It speaks of the homophobia that is predominant in modern society, specifically the homophobia of heterosexual men who perceive gays as less manly than heterosexuals. Let's observe.
I think we just accidentally kissed.
Quick, do something manly.
Okay, so this is an effective commercial in that it plays on gender roles. The beginning starts with two manly men working on a truck in the garage, which is pretty typical of the stereotypical male behavior. But the commercial takes a turn when the guy's urge for Snickers distracts them from realizing that they are, in fact, consuming the same bar, and as a result, end up mouth to mouth. So by doing so, the ad plays on homosexuality and even more so on homophobia. It promotes a stereotype of gay men being less manly and therefore less likely to practice hobbies such as fixing the truck in the garage or, say, ripping their shirts off, which, if you ask me, isn't something that happens all that often, but we do get the point. So I guess you could say that the ad also uses exaggeration as a selling technique. And once the actors in the commercial come to realize what they are doing, aka kissing, they yell out, "Do something manly," and rip off their shirts and chest hair. Typical men. Okay, now we will break to our last but not least commercial. It's an ad by Pepsi Max that was aired during the Super Bowl as well. And it's my personal favorite because it's probably the most realistic in terms of gender roles, and it still encompasses some sexuality and some humor, so check it out.
I like to buy in bulk.
What's that smell?
What smell?
Can I have one?
Yeah. 0 calories.
What are you trying to say?
Oh, no, you're not fat.
Pepsi Max. 0 calories, maximum Pepsi taste.
So this Super Bowl commercial, it also uses humor, but it differs from the other commercials in that the man's not really perceived as a smooth talker. Rather, he says the wrong thing over and over again and bumbles over his words. He's not a desirable object. He's not very attractive. He's wearing a hoodie and obviously doesn't really care about his appearance. So it's different than other ads, such as perfume or jeans, where it's usually really attractive people all over each other. In this situation, there are some stereotypes being used to convey the effects. The female is rejecting the male, and the ad hinges on the idea that females are pretty much constantly obsessed with their own body image. "You're not fat" is the punchline. The humor sets in basically when Pepsi Max comes into the commercial. Up until then, you don't even know what the commercial's about. Gender roles are pretty dominant in the commercial. Pepsi Max uses them in an obvious way. They're very overt about it, to evoke humor and also grasp the audience's attention by playing on reality. In reality, not all men are as smooth as the guys in the Old Spice commercials or Abercrombie and Finch ads. And obviously not all women are as hard to get as Kim Kardashian. And they know that, and they want everyday regular people to buy their product. So to wrap it up, the main techniques used by advertisers seem to be humor and sexuality. Humor we saw in the Doritos ad, in the Pepsi ad, and in the Snickers ad. On the other hand, advertisements often use sexuality as well, especially toward younger adult viewers, which is very apparent in the Kim Kardashian commercial.
So specific to Super Bowl time, it's definitely a good call on behalf of advertisers to use techniques geared more towards the younger audience who have an appreciation for all things humorous and or sexual. So, Dr. Rudnick, it has been a pleasure discussing with you the best strategies to use in advertisements today. Join us next week for an episode on government brainwashing. Thank you and good night.
Good night.